Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Movie Trash Podcast. Today we're going to be reviewing the movie Spider-Man 2002. Before we do any of that, I just want to let you guys know we are now officially on iTunes and Spotify. All episodes should be included on there. This one will be also included as soon as possible, probably the same day, most likely. And I'm going to pass that over to Angel so he can tell you the synopsis of Spider-Man 2002.
Yep. All right. So, the synopsis. So, Spider-Man 2002, when bitten by a genetically modified spider, a nerdy, shy, and awkward high school student gains spider-like abilities that he will eventually must use to fight evil as a superhero after tragedy befalls his family.
As stated by Google.
As stated by
IMDb.
Google.
I don't know.
Or IMDb or any other website. So we don't take any credit for that whatsoever. So
yep, yeah, that is not ours.
Yeah. Yep. You sue us and we're going to see you back. You know?
Yeah, slander. We put it in there.
Slander. Yeah.
We ain't no thief.
He said, we ain't no thief.
What do we look like? But the guy who shot Uncle Ben?
Oh, geez.
Honestly.
All right.
So, what do you guys think about it?
Well, this is my for me, other than Into the Spider-Verse, of course. I think that movie is a very hard movie to top for Spider-Man films. It's really good. And has a lot of references to these movies, actually. So that's a very hard movie to top for me. But for live action, I think Tobey Maguire is the best Spider-Man / Peter Parker. Either way you look at it. For me, those are the same people. Some people might be like, oh, well, there's alter ego and that's him. And, you know, but to me, they're meant to be one person. Hence why Spider-Man uses Uncle Ben's lines, you know, like to me, they're supposed to represent one person. Spider-Man isn't some crazy ass wacko, like, I don't know, any Marvel character. Moon Knight. Yeah, crazy little motherfucker. Basically, Marvel's Batman. He's not like him. He's not crazy. He doesn't have an alternate personality. Spider-Man and Peter Parker are one and the same. Just Spider-Man can be him, like, without having to worry about being judged or anybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he has a mask on.
Exactly.
He's not shy anymore and stuff.
Exactly. And what I really like about Tobey Maguire is just that I feel like a lot of people give him shit for being old, but I feel like he puts us all in this character, you know? Like, he has a couple cheesy lines and stuff like that, but I just really enjoy Sam Raimi's direction when it comes to this film. Yeah. It definitely isn't as stylized as most films are now, you know? Or his films, at least. Like, I can see probably why is because if you think about it, Spider-Man's a huge thing. Like, even before like this movie was released, people knew who Spider-Man was because of how big he was. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you knew who Spider-Man was even if you didn't read comics. Yeah. So I think being given that franchise, you definitely want to take it easy with it. You don't want to put your own mix on it in the beginning, especially like because of like who loves this franchise, you know? And you're really worried you might disappoint those people. So I feel like this movie doesn't have that Raimi sense of humor that the Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 have. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I feel like because of how delicate he took this film, I feel like that's why it didn't really get as many good ratings as Spider-Man 2 and 3 did. But I feel like it still deserved the sequel that it got, personally.
I got you, for sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This film,
Spider-Man isn't a simp.
Oh, yeah. Spider-Man isn't a simp. Nah. You know what's funny? It's like, because I was, it was funny. That word kept popping up as I was like watching it, you know, because, you know, nowadays what the word is, you know, it's a joke, right? Spider-Man, man, like, I've seen this like movie ever since I was a kid, and I've seen it so many times. There's times where I can just remember the lines, remember just certain scenes that I myself could act out because they're just so memorable, funny, quirky, whatever. And I don't know. I think definitely Peter Parker back then when I was small, and I think even now embodied what I like wanted to be in terms of how one can grow once one gets power. Now, what I like about it is it's not even power that is like, for example, spider abilities, you know, whatever. You know, you don't need that to be able to use it responsibly, you know. It could be anything. It could just be, you know, having power to inspire people or show people the right direction, you know. So in my, you know, when I was young, I wanted to be strong. in everything I did and be as great as, in everything I did. And I could see how, especially for me, I'm very biased when it comes to this film. So this film is definitely like, I agree with you, Jay, in which that, Tobey Maguire is like, will always be my, number one Spider-Man. No other one will top that, in my opinion, unless they show me different. But like so far, this one is just like definitely engraved in terms of like who I naturally see Spider-Man is,
Yeah.
Because it's just done so well. And anyone in the comment section, like legit, if you have an opinion on why he isn't, please put it down, because I'm really curious on like what people have to say. Because so far, I don't think any comment has really swayed me on why, like for example, Tom Holland might be a better Spider-Man or Peter Parker or whatever. Like, please let us know. So
I was gonna say earlier this week, I had actually seen like on a Marvel post, this little group that they like Marvel movies. After Endgame, I signed up for it only because Endgame was like fun and I wanted to see the memes that would come out of it or anything that would come out of it, and the iconic shots, maybe any good shots people took of the movie. I wanted to see those shots again. Pretty much there was a thing of Tobey Maguire. Pretty much they were kind of like insisting that, without these Spider-Man films, like who's to know if MCU, like the MCU itself, would be as big and popular as it was. Because sure, maybe you don't like them. Sure, maybe they're not your thing. They're cheesy. Of course they can be. Definitely the CGI wasn't the prime of this movie. But it still had like such an impact on the franchise. Because if you think about it, before this film, Marvel was flopping. Like, sure, there are some people that do like Punisher and Warzone and all that shit, right? But it was flopping very hard before anything like Iron Man or Captain America or Thor came out. Marvel was just dropping deuces, bro. And I'm sorry to say, if you think not, okay, cool. I'm glad you enjoy those films. But the box office did think that. Hence why, probably Raimi himself probably was fucking worried about making this film, knowing the fucking track on Marvel's case, So I think giving it to him was the smartest idea they could have done. And I think because of that, they got something back that they did not expect, Yeah.
And this was for sure the movie that kind of paved the road for other superhero movies to become more mainstream.
Exactly.
And like people like to get more into it and everything. But like me being kind of not into superheroes as much and superhero movies as much and stuff like that, it was definitely kind of, I guess, like after all these newer movies and stuff, it was kind of going back and watching this, it was almost like bland to me in a way. But like you were saying, they didn't want to do anything different with it than the comics, so that they don't really like throw off the audience.
Yeah, if even that, because I know a lot of comic heads too, like some of them don't like Tobey because they don't represent like Spider-Man, like, oh, he doesn't quip enough, oh, he doesn't do this enough. But I don't know. I always thought, like, personally for me, that's not why I used to like watch Spider-Man cartoons or be into the old 90s show or even the Spectacular Spider-Man that came out in 2010 or whatever I think it was. Like, I wasn't into those shows because he quipped. I was into those shows because of the characters. That's what kept me interested. And I feel like that's like this film. This film is just a fucking boatload of characters. And I personally love almost all of them.
Yeah. And I mean, I like Spider-Man. I like the story and the whole idea that kid can get bitten and he's like has that ability to, save a lot of people that he wasn't able to save before and do good that he wanted to do, like out of the goodness out of his heart and stuff. So
exactly,
because I mean, he didn't really have much in this world. He just had his aunt and his uncle raising him. So it was cool to see that character develop for sure and see like him kind of go past, because like when Uncle Ben dies, he kind of realizes, that it was because of me, because he was coming to pick me up from what I was doing from that wrestling match.
Yeah.
So he looks at that experience, and I feel like he gets like a kind of like a wake up call almost. So
yeah,
it's definitely cool.
I get you. I get what you're saying. Sorry, I stumbled through it hella hard.
You're good.
Definitely, I don't know. I think like again to that same part, just seeing it like again, it was kind of crazy. Like thinking it through Peter's mind, like because at that point, he joined that wrestling thing, right? Because he was like, he was kind of, a little selfish, right? He wanted to impress, right? Mary Jane, he wants to probably get a car. He's having these other thoughts, not thinking about, the consequences of what he's doing. And first, through his eyes, when you're seeing all this, it's all flashy, it's funny, it's, you see him beat up the wrestler dude, not to get the $3,000, but only $100. And the guy is just
lighthearted too.
Very, no, for sure.
It's like, I just want to impress the girl next door,
Exactly. And it's like nothing bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's kind of just like, oh yeah, like she's been through some tough times, but I can like show her that like not every guy is like her dad, or I can actually pay attention to her. I want to know what her dreams are,
Exactly.
That's what I got.
And so and it's like you said, very lighthearted, and it's just with good intention. And just for that, it starts going this dark route where, he gets ripped off, right? The guy's like, oh, you only lasted 2 minutes, not 3 minutes, only $100. Like, dude, you're such a rip off. Like, I think in the same situation, I think a lot of us would have been like, yeah, man, like, screw you then, and that same guy getting robbed. I mean, yeah, like, screw you, man. You took my money. Like, I'm not, it's not my problem. So it's like, yeah, sure. And just to real. Oh, no, wait.
Sorry, not to cut you off. I thought it was crazy how he could have stopped the guy,
Yeah.
Like he could have, like probably just tripped that guy and took the gun or whatever from him.
Yeah.
And the whole scene wouldn't have happened where he would have stole his uncle's car and stuff. But back to what you were saying, sorry.
Oh, no, for sure. Yeah, no. And like, just for all those consecutive things to lead up, like you said, to his uncle's death. And then realizing, was that even worth? Was that all, even worth, my uncle's death? And it wasn't. And that was such a sad thing, because even then, when I realized I hadn't seen this film in a long time. And for some reason in my head, I thought that Uncle Ben had said more than just Peter, when he was dying. And so I thought something. And so afterwards, when he chases the guy down or whatever, and he falls and kills whatever, he dies, and then later off, like, he graduates and then he mourns, you could see it like from his perspective. I was like, well, it's true. The last things that, Uncle Ben really did tell him, or like they talked about, or they really fully talked, it was a negative, it was a negative thing, I guess, at that moment for him. And it was sad because that was the last thing. And I just like, at least putting myself in his shoes, because Uncle Ben to him was, like his father figure, of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he tells him. He's like, stop acting like my father.
Oh,
was the last thing that he tells him.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny. Yeah. And exactly. And it's like, it wasn't true, it wasn't true at all. Because Uncle Ben, and Aunt May were always there for that's definitely like, I think in my shoes, if I was in a situation, those are my parents, those are my mom and dad. I don't care whether they're my uncle or aunt, like they're the ones who raised me, supported me and believed in me, no matter what. So when, I don't know, just from that like point in itself, seeing him mourn and think about that, I was like, yeah, I could see that, like, really shutting someone down and making it, and it is at some point you feel like it's your fault. But I think the best part was how he moved on from it, in which he decided, I have to take up the mantle because I have powers, I have abilities, I have things in which I can help people, instead of, doing things for the sake of my own selfishness. So I think for me, especially as a little kid, seeing that and not even grasping fully on the idea of mourning or death too much, I could understand that it was bigger than what I was actually visually seeing. So, and I think I think a lot of people can agree on that. There's a deeper meaning behind him taking up this, suit, especially when he looks at his spider suit and he's just like, I can become something bigger, I don't know. I thought that was an amazing scene. Definitely personally, for me, inspiring. So yeah, I don't know what you guys have to say. Other scenes that you guys felt was.
Well, I was going to say, when Uncle Ben gets killed, doesn't he kind of goes on like a tangent of trying to find his killer, right? But in this movie, doesn't he just finds his killer right away, and that's kind of it, right? Well, and then he just starts like helping people and stuff, and
yeah.
So okay, because I know, doesn't it, like in the kind of like in the comics or whatever, like he goes on like a spree trying to find the gang members that killed his uncle and stuff like that?
Personally, I don't really know about the comics. But I feel like in the original like Ditko Stan Lee shit, I think it was all resolved in one comic, really. I believe so.
For sure.
Like I think
I remember
like,
playing the video games and stuff, and like going after the gang members and whatever.
yeah, I get what
Trying
you're
to look
saying.
for them. So
Because
But,
I know
yeah.
the one with what's his name, like Andrew Garfield. He kind of did that, right? He was going after like there were certain people because he was trying to
Yeah.
track the
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
who, which I guess is a bit more, maybe like I guess in some it can be realistic in some sense, but I don't know. I think the way like Sam Raimi did this one, I thought
Yeah.
it was well paced. It didn't seem too
Mhm.
rushed, especially him finally like when you're angry, you just do things to do things. And so him finally just saying like, screw it, I'm going to start web slinging. I thought that was pretty like cool to enter that in terms, because when you're angry and you're mad and you're dedicated to full on, I guess take someone down, I guess, if that's
Yeah.
the case.
because that was the
There's no
first time
fear.
he started to really
Yeah.
web sling, to chase
Yeah.
after that guy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought that was like pretty interesting. I like that too. I like that part a
Yeah.
lot.
It shows Peter has like determination. You know what I mean? Like it just
Yeah.
shows that like that Uncle Ben was so important to him. Like he was willing to even risk his own life, like going across New York City tall buildings, like web slinging like that, just to like
Mhm.
capture the person like who murdered basically your father. You know,
Yeah.
that's what is insane to me. It's just the determination that he had. Like
Yeah.
And of course, at the time, you think like, oh, well, he's Spider-Man. He's gonna like capture him, and take him to the police. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
like, but like you can't help but like kind of feel that same anger.
Yeah.
Thinking about like, damn, if I would have lost my father to that person,
Yeah, dude, throw
Like-
that dude in traffic. What the fuck?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to fucking pick him up and throw him off a fucking building, especially with the powers you have.
Yeah.
It's like I literally have the power to throw this guy off the building, but just the fact
Yeah.
that he remains calm and he like sure he presses him, you know what I mean? But that's all he does.
Yeah.
He never like actually like I don't believe so, right? He doesn't actually push him or anything.
No,
no. He
Yeah,
breaks
no.
his wrist though.
Yeah,
he
he does break his
realizes,
wrist.
he realizes who it is, and
Yeah.
then like breaks his wrist, and then falls through
Yeah.
the window.
I forgot about that part, but yeah, he breaks his wrist. He, like that is what.
Let's be honest here, though. Did he not deserve it? Like he killed a man.
No, he deserved it.
No,
Break his fucking wrist.
Oh, he
That's like the
deserved it.
minimal
I'm gonna break his
injury
wrist.
that he deserved.
Yeah.
Well, I've always said, like, why would you steal something and commit murder, like beat someone up? That makes no sense. Just take what you want to take, bro. Like, it's why you got to beat them up too, or whatever. It doesn't. Yeah, that's never made
Just shoot
sense
a
to me.
warning shot. Just fucking
Yeah,
shoot a
something like,
fucking-
get out of the car, old man.
Yeah,
Like,
for real.
Yeah.
He's gonna get out. He's like doesn't want to get killed.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this
Yeah.
guy.
I will say-
definitely.
Oh.
Oh no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say in the Amazing Spider-Man, I know Uncle Ben is like he seems a lot younger in that one, so I
Mhm.
think it was just like for him, for the younger Uncle Ben, that is like he does fight back. I believe that the robber stumbles and like drops the gun or something like that,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
Uncle Ben like rushes to grab the gun, and then the guy grabs it first. So because of that, he like shoots him, I think, or something
Yeah.
like that. At least that's what I remember from. Andrew
It was funny
Garfield's
because
fucking
like
film.
I believe when it came to that scene, I saw like in some, I believe it was on the YouTube comments where someone's like, "Why would you go for the gun? You don't even know if that guy has like a license to carry." And
I
so,
mean,
like,
yeah, I guess that's pretty true. Yeah.
Like Uncle Ben basically just assumed that he was like a terrible guy. I believed, if I'm not mistaken, because he
I
didn't
think-
just
wait.
rob. Because
But
I know he robbed.
I was gonna
But I
say,
don't-
well, if you hear sirens and you fucking see a guy with a
Yeah.
gun, it's not hard to come to that conclusion, though.
Sure.
And there's
I
also a
don't-
guy across the street literally screaming, "Help! Help! I got mugged!" Didn't he? There was a fat guy,
I think
right?
so. I think so.
So I'm
yeah.
pretty sure
Bro,
it
I'd
wasn't
be,
a
I'd be
complete
like, oh, that
assumption.
sucks.
Yeah, I'd be like, damn, how is that my problem? You know,
How's that my problem? Exactly.
that line, go back to
that same line.
infamous line.
I don't know. I feel like in Andrew Garfield's fucking film, like it doesn't hit right to me. Like when he's
No.
like, "Oh, that's not my problem." It's just like, well, dude, he just didn't give you a fucking chocolate milk. Like, boo-hoo, you're just not gonna help him get like you're just gonna let him get robbed. He didn't give you a chocolate milk, and now you're mad. Like, what
It
the
was,
fuck?
it was he was off by like 2 cents, right? And
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, the dude's a dick, but does he deserve to
Yeah.
get robbed for not giving you chocolate
No.
milk?
no,
That like
Like-
is like the most
I
minor
haven't seen this in a
inconvenience.
while, dude.
Yeah. that
Maybe-
wasn't to the
maybe
same
it's-
extent as like actually getting robbed of how much? $2,900.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I don't know, maybe it's to show that like even the most minor inconveniences can like lead to big ones, you know?
sure.
Maybe that's what it is to show. I'm gonna
Yeah.
give the director more credit because I know a lot of people like to shit on those movies. I am one of those people. I absolutely hated those fucking films. But
Yeah.
like I can't completely dog on that because that movie gave people jobs, it gave people money, you know what I mean? And I got enough money back to make a second one, so I can't really like completely shit on it because that is people's like livelihood, you know?
Yeah.
But I will say they're just not on the same level as these movies to me.
For sure. Full on agree. I know, like, continue on with like the story though. I think one scene, so I was like, you know how there's like a lot of quirky moments and funny, like cheesy ass moments, especially with the Green Goblin, how he, just the things he says is just very quick. And I was like, okay, how can I try to, is there anything that like kind of justifies why he says the things he says? And one thing that I like realized, which I like kind of forgot, is that the serum in which, or like, I guess it was like a serum, right? A gas, whatever that he inhaled in the, experiment or whatnot, chemicals, whatever.
Changes genetics.
Yeah,
genetics,
changed
right?
himself to a Chad from a simp.
For sure, right? Like it's like a human enhancer in terms of physical abilities or whatever. Mm-hmm. It also warps, like it makes you insane. It's like insanity. And so I'm like, in his head, I think if you're insane, there is no limit to what you say. You just say what pops up. Yeah. Whatever sounds funny is funny. Whatever sounds quirky, it's probably quirky and funny for the moment, even if you're killing a couple of people, you know?
Well, I mean, yeah, so, it's quirky to them, but to you, it's normal, you know? Exactly. That's the whole point of being crazy is like, you don't realize you're really crazy. Oh, that's why there's always that whole contradiction where it's like, well, if you're a crazy person, right? Like you do crazy, outlandish things, but you kind of recognize that you do those things because you're crazy. Like, are you crazy?
Are you crazy? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Here's my thing. I kind of took it as he almost had like a, multiple personality after he took that serum and stuff, because he didn't even know what was really going on until he looked in that mirror. And then his other personality was like talking to him saying, like, this is, we've been killing these people. And then he was kind of like shocked about it. He was like, whoa, dang,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't feel like at the time when he has the goblin costume on, I feel like he almost isn't in control, obviously. Like he's kind of in the background as that serum kind of takes over. It takes over his brain.
You have Norman and then you have the goblin, right? The Green Goblin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree on that.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think, isn't it crazy that, like, Matt, you pointed out earlier that it was 2 hours and you felt like that could have been cut down, right?
Yeah, probably maybe to like an hour and 45 or an hour and 40 or something, just because I felt like an hour and 15 minutes into it or something. It was still like, dang, like I got, like a good chunk of this movie left. And what else is there going to be except like, kind of like the closure and whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. That's just me as a person watching this, I guess, because I never really watched it all the way through.
I get you.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like those 2 hours, personally for me, were needed for those scenes of like the Goblin and Norman and Peter and Harry and MJ. Like, I feel like, like the way you said, like, I think earlier you had explained to me that you felt like, well, they're just trying to hate on Harry. You know what I mean? Like the whole film itself is trying to hate on Harry. But for me, I was kind of like, when I always watched that, I always kind of felt like Harry's character was more sad than like hateable. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's just him, like, I think I even told you, like, it's just him looking for his father's approval pretty much,
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it earlier because you asked me, well, like Harry dated MJ and shit like that, right? And you told me all that. And I was kind of
I felt like, because I hadn't watched the rest of, like, the ending of the movie at that point when I talked to you. So I felt like the director was kind of trying to make him unlikable, like, because I liked him at first and stuff, but then when he kind of started hitting on MJ and used Peter's lines and stuff like that, I kind of was like, I don't really like you that much anymore. And then it kind of progressed, and then he was dating her, and I was just like, like the director's totally trying to just make Harry be this dude that isn't supposed to be likable, but like I want to like him because he doesn't, like you said, like he has a hard, like, he doesn't get the attention he needs from his father. He's probably had a hard childhood, stuff like that. So it's definitely hard to kind of like him during the film, but I don't know. That's what I was kind of trying to explain, I guess.
Yeah. I was going to say that's how I always felt. It's just that he is that, like, I wouldn't say hard life, but like, how do you say, more like that he has always had those like emotionally distant parents. I mean, his mom's dead, we never see her, so I'm assuming that,
Mhm.
right? And I think there's a moment where they talk about that, right?
I know the
I'm
only
not sure.
moment I heard that they spoke about her was when Norman figures out that Peter is Spider-Man at the
Oh,
Thanksgiving,
yep.
and then after he's like, "You meet them all the same. Your mother was beautiful, and look, like she was all they're after is like your
trust
pension or
fund.
something, your trust fund or whatever." Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, so did they just like divorce? And he said, "Screw you, you bimbo," like you
Yeah.
wanted me for my money, and so that's why he was bad mouthing, Mary Jane and telling Harry, "Oh yeah, just get do what you got to do with her," and then like boom her to the side. I was like, yikes! I was like,
Dude.
okay.
Yeah, he was like smashing past your homies,
I
bro.
was like,
He was like, we ain't simping out here.
Yeah.
Half of
You-
Twitter when they found out Idol's girlfriend had a fucking OnlyFans. Fucking,
the
You're-
we
reason
ain't
why I
simping out
shouldn't have
here.
a child ever.
Hey yo, King, your crown is tilting, bro. Put it back up, bro.
Put it back on, bro.
Put it back up.
And keep your head up, King.
Keep your head up, King.
Fucking some dumb shit. But I was gonna
Yeah,
say, you gotta love that these movies are like so iconic to the point that they spawned memes. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, I have not seen any like actual funny memes from any of the Tom Holland films or any of the Andrew Garfield films.
Oh yeah, no.
But
Yeah.
this movie just has memes on memes. Like that part where he's like,
Yeah.
I'm quite a scientist myself, Peter.
yeah.
I couldn't help but fucking laugh, bro. Like I love that
Yeah.
scene. And fucking
Yeah.
just like all the scenes, bro. They just
When he was crying because of Uncle Ben dying.
Yeah. Like it's an ugly cry, but it's like, let's be honest here. It's funny when you see ugly cries. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you don't laugh in the moment. You know what I mean?
No,
Like if
yeah.
your mom or your dad's like crying to you like severely because like I don't know, maybe your grandparents died, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
laugh in the moment. You don't go, oh,
No,
fucking
yeah.
dad. You're ugly
Yeah.
crying, you ugly bastard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
but later on when you think about it, you're like, those motherfuckers cry like an ugly motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I love about these films. Like they
Yeah.
actually have memes that are hilarious that spawn from them.
Yeah.
Mm.
No other Spider-Man film has done that so far.
No. No, not at all.
But I was gonna
Yeah.
say, but yeah, I think like just the fact that they do have that runtime of 2 hours, it showcases all the characters. Peter's like of course there's like the simplified form of them, right? Like Peter,
Mhm.
nice guy. MJ, hot girl that Peter likes, right? And then Harry, like you said, douchebag best friend, right? But then there's also
Yeah.
that complex, complex, what the fuck? Complex layer, right?
Mhm.
Where it's like, yeah, Peter is a nice guy, but why is he a nice guy? It's because Uncle Ben raised him to be like that. He raised him to
Yeah.
show respect to others. He raised him to like be a respectful young man. It's not.
Yeah.
He's not. Oh, I'm just naturally nice. Because there's points where like Peter is a fucking asshole. Like when he yells at
Yeah.
Uncle Ben when he's leaving to go do the wrestling thing. It's not.
Mhm.
Oh, like fuck you, Uncle Ben, you know what I mean? Or some like, it's still respectful if you notice, you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah,
because of how
yeah.
Uncle Ben raised him. While like, sure,
Yeah.
he says, oh, you're not my father, you know what I mean? But he doesn't like
Yeah.
go out of his way to say hurtful things or continue the conversation or, you know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
okay, bye, you know?
Yeah.
Like before anything gets even deeper than this, you know? And
Yeah.
then when it comes to MJ, it's like, yeah, you can see her as like the hot girl Peter likes, but you can also see her as, oh, this is the girl that Peter loves because ever since they moved in, like he's always cared for her, you know. And she's
Yeah.
had a rough life. She hasn't had the same life as Harry. That's why I said when you said like, oh, had a hard life, it's like, well, yeah, you can say he had a hard life, but at least there was money, you know, make sure that he's safe and that he's in like a good area. While for MJ, it's like she has her abusive dad, and that's not really the same, you know, hard life that Harry had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just having that like person who like is willing to, I don't know if that ever happens in like, I don't think that ever happens in the film, but I think it's insinuated that her father probably does like abuse her mom and her dad. You know what I mean? I mean, they are screaming to the top of their lungs, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not a stretch of the imagination, you know?
For sure. Yeah.
Mm.
So definitely there's a deeper layer for her as well, you know? And I already pointed out, like I said, with Harry, like he is the rich boy, rich douchebag boy, right? But in reality, he's friends with Peter Parker. Why would he be friends with the poor kid? You know what I mean? Peter is not the
Yeah.
richest
The
kid.
shy, poor kid.
Exactly. Shy, awkward, nerd, poor kid. Why would he be friends with that? It's because Peter is a good guy. You know what I mean? And I think that's like Harry's whole character arc, right? Is like he wants to be like Peter because Peter gets the recognition from his father that he's never gotten, you know?
Yeah.
Peter gets recognized by MJ because they had that moment in the lab, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's all these little things that Harry notices that he picks up on, right? It's almost like Harry is the audience as well, right? He picks up on those things and he's like, damn, like I want to be like recognized, you know? I want to be someone, you know?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And while like it's a terrible thing to do to just want to be someone, you know what I mean? You shouldn't try to take someone's life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's still like, it still makes Harry's character like understandable, you know? Like, he's not unlikable. I always saw Harry in the first film as a, how do you say it? I would still say he's like his best friend, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he tries to treat him right. He lets him live with him. He does.
Well, yeah,
all the
even
things.
at the end, he says,
We're family, right?
yeah, that's what he said. You're like your only family I have left. But then he vows to kill Spider-Man.
Yeah, which is like the right person that you're hugging right there, and it's like,
Yeah.
you know, Harry, I got something to tell you, dude. You know?
Hey,
For
Harry,
real.
little fun fact real quick.
Yeah.
Which-
Go back real quick.
Dude, I don't understand why like Peter waited around for Harry to come back to see his dad dead. Why didn't he drop off his dad and dip so that Harry didn't hate Spider-Man? You know what I mean?
I think it was a matter of like, he was like staring at a dead body, man, you know? Like, he's probably paralyzed.
Yeah.
Like, this dude is my dad's best friend. He probably was like halted by all the drama and all the fucking shit that just happened, you know?
Yeah.
No, I know. I was wondering because it seems like he was standing there for like a good while. He could have dropped him off and then dipped.
Yeah, he could have been like,
And-
oh, well, fuck this motherfucker.
And then Harry wouldn't have hated Spider-Man. But I mean, I guess that's part of the whole storyline too. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That scene kind of like was like, why? Because he says, don't tell Harry. Like, so he pretty much told them keep all of this away from Harry. And he just was like, all right, I'll take you home and show my face in your house so that Harry hates
Yeah.
me. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That didn't make too much sense to me because it's not like Harry knew that he was the Green Goblin. So,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I personally saw it as like the same kind of how like Jay said, where Spider-Man was just kind of like, it was just in that moment where when he was dropping him off and he's just kind of like laying over and probably he didn't
Just, like, stuck
expect
there.
Harry to show up. Yeah, just like out of coincidence. He just really did not expect that whatsoever. And that's how I took it, at least. I could see it though from your perspective, like it's kind of just there for the sake of the plot. In
Yeah.
reality, you'd kind of just be like, all right, let me just sneak this here really quick. Like, you know, say my prayers to, you know, Norman, peace, and just like
Yeah.
leave, you know? But like,
Mhm.
yeah, I could agree with that.
I was going to say, but yeah, it just, like I said, I think the runtime was needed just for the sake of explaining all the characters and why they act the way they do. And I think that is very important to film, that a lot of filmmakers nowadays really do forget.
Yeah.
Like, they forget about setting up their characters and giving them reasons to be like the way they are, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're supposed to just expect that, oh yeah, this guy is like this because, you know?
Yeah. I got you.
It's never explained fully out
Never. Yeah.
through every film, and that's what's kind of annoying of film nowadays. I was actually speaking to my uncle earlier today, and I was telling him a little bit about how I feel like filmmakers themselves don't really put themselves out there like that anymore. They don't really have a style. They don't really show any direction. They kind of just make the movie that Sony or Disney or whoever the fuck wanted them to make, you know?
Mhm.
It's a very depressing time for film.
Yeah.
Everything feels like it's all one big mush, especially now with the Marvel films. I still watch the MCU films. I've actually been recently binge watching them with my girlfriend. We watched Captain America so far and Iron Man. I said fuck Captain Marvel. I wasn't trying to watch that bullshit.
I still haven't even seen it.
Yeah, well,
still
don't.
didn't
It's a
even
fucking waste of
like-
money and time.
The
Captain
Avengers
Marvel,
after.
stay in that room, bro.
For real. Don't download Disney Plus. Fuck this shit.
Yeah.
It's just like rewatching these like films, it reminds me of how much heart these films used to have. Like Jon Favreau just putting in that time to fucking like Iron Man, you know what I mean? Like just putting that time in to like really understand the character, giving him complexity, adding in that layer.
backgrounds. Yeah.
And it just sucks that like film, it just doesn't do that nowadays.
Yeah.
Especially for the new Marvel films. Like, think about it. Spider-Man Homecoming, like, we just know about Spider-Man because of Civil War, and they just throw us right after that. They just throw us right in right after that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, so we have to just assume everything. And even then, they don't have like a care for Uncle Ben or like anything like that. So it's like, oh, okay, so Spider-Man wants to be Spider-Man because of Iron Man?
Yeah.
Even though if you think about it, Iron Man's the worst role model to follow, considering that he's literally was like a weapons warmonger. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. Do they even give him an origin story? Because I haven't even seen Homecoming either.
No, they don't. They and they just throw Uncle Ben to the side, which really sucks ass because you would think that's the most important character or central character to your character, you know?
Well, they don't. You don't even know how he got the powers either, because in the Amazing Spider-Man, doesn't he have kind of like a different power set? He can't shoot the webs without like electronic whatever.
Oh yeah, it's the same. Well, that's the thing. In the comics, it actually is like that. I do know about that.
Yeah.
In the comics, it actually is like you have to use
technology.
Yeah, it's actually technology. But in Sam Raimi's, because of the fact that like he wanted to show that Peter was kind of like smart in other ways. Like he didn't need to show them like him building a fucking web fluid shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he was like.
Kind of feel like that's part of his power set. I don't know and understand why that's how it was in the comics, why they need technology.
I don't know. It was kind of like, oh, well, that wouldn't really make sense. But like, I don't know. You could see how well it makes sense for the Sam Raimi films.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe Stan Lee and Steve Ditko or the fuck, they probably were like, oh, well, no, that wouldn't make too much sense. It's not like electronics, so it's like not completely overpowered. But it's like,
I guess so.
It's fine for everybody who watches Sam Raimi and actually enjoys the film. I think nobody really gives a fuck that much. I
legit fully like that because it shows genetically just how different you are from like average human. That it literally genetically gave him enhances of spider-like things like webs and those like little blades, like microscopic blades that allow him to stick onto things. I really love that a lot.
Yeah,
it's just like it explains why he can do those things really well, and also in a very biological way. I don't know. I personally love that a lot.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think what I had an issue with was when he was fighting that bully at school, the guy that was like originally with Mary Jane
Flash?
or whatever.
Oh, Flash, yeah.
And he just does like a freaking triple backflip, bro. That was kind of like, what? Like, I don't know. I feel like even if you have that type of strength and
dude,
like ability to do that, you're still not going to know how to do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, I think that was the whole point of
like
the,
kind of what
the Spidey sense. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's like a fucking freight train coming at you, so you kind of have to like, oh, whoop. You know
that's kind of like what it kind of made sense more when Angel was explaining how he's obviously he's a different type of human. Like that itself like changed his genetics so much to where
basically what Matt's trying to say is he's a different type of breed.
He's a different type of breed.
I guess
he's a different type of breed. He ain't on that same level. Flash ain't on that level quite yet.
That kind of annoyed me, dude, when you just did like a triple backflip. Like, yeah, you have the strength and stuff, but you're gonna fall like the first time. The first times.
99% of the time you are. I mean, shit, he didn't even know how to do his webbing correctly. If you think about it, you know what I mean. Like even he was shooting that shit all across his room. Which I'm going to assume Sam Raimi did that for haha funnies, you know what I mean? Shooting white shit all across your room. Anyways, but
I thought it was funny when he...
teenager, Aunt May walks in and she's just like, hey, Peter, what are you doing? You're being weird. He's like, oh, nothing. I'm just like, not. What did he say? He's not even undressed. He's undressed, right?
I know.
Even though you can clearly see his fucking sweater.
Yeah.
Yikes. You're like, that's funny. I'm trying to think it from like her perspective. She's like...
these darn kids.
Yeah, these darn kids and their hormones.
And they're exploring their bodies. God ain't gonna let you in heaven doing that, Peter.
What was his excuse anyway when she opened the door? He said something and then she tried to come in and he's like, oh, I'm undressed.
Yeah, she's been like, you've been asking really strange,
he said,
Peter.
I'm working out. Yeah, he said, I'm working out. I'm working out.
Yeah.
I'm working out in the nude.
Yeah.
That's why I found that funny. It was like, what are you working out naked, bro?
These squats ain't gonna do themselves.
Yeah.
Gotta make sure this ass looks nice.
Jeez. Oh my God. Definitely, in terms of the movie, my favorite part, legit, is the final like fight scene. That is legit my favorite.
Hey, wait, hold up. Before you say anything, Angel, MCU ain't got nothing on that. The MCU ain't got nothing on that. The only thing that's ever gotten me as hyped as that fucking fight scene was when fucking Captain America smacked the fuck out of Thanos with that Mjolnir. And even then, like, it didn't keep me on edge like that.
No, not like
Yeah.
that. Like that scene was just so I don't know. That's like the perfect dynamic of legit. I believe like how a kind of fight scene between a hero and a villain should go about. At least maybe in the very like cliche sense, but it's done well in that cliche sense in which the hero is literally getting trashed so hard. No matter how hard he tries, he's getting trashed, and the villain then tells him something in which, if you don't do something about this, I'm going to take everything you love like away from you. And that is enough for him to say like, I will now fuck you up. You know, I will now like take your gender, bro, because you just said that, because you just put that in my mind, you know? And
Because you were running your mouth, bro. I gotta put you in your place.
no, legit. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that scene was just, it's incredible. I don't know. I think it's very incredible. I don't know. Just, I don't know. I remember just like, what, it was like a couple months back. I like retold that scene to you, right, Jay? Like
Yeah.
we were talking about it and I was just like, I don't know. It's such an iconic, memorable scene. And even like the hate, like the way Toby acts in terms of his hate of like, bro, I'm going to kill you, dude. Like, I'm going to actually take you down, you know?
Yeah. He's like,
Which is-
okay, bro, like,
Yeah.
this is like straight up gonna end with me just ripping your head off. You know what I mean?
No, legit.
The only thing I had an issue with that whole fight scene is when he catches the blade, that like when he tells him that all that shit, when Green Goblin like says, he's like, oh, I'm gonna take away everything and whatever, and then he like goes to stab him with the blade and he just like catches it in front of his face, like, bro, your hands aren't gonna like get sliced up. I don't know.
I guess not. That's
well, I
weird.
think
You know,
I think it was like a
bit.
trident though. I think it was
like a
like
trident.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was like a
I believe it was like
Alright,
a
let's clear that
circular.
up because it looked like to me he should have at least like got a little bit bloody hands or something.
That'd be
Well,
cool to
even
add, you know?
then, I think like at that point he just didn't care. You know, he was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
fucking make sure I win this fight. Like no matter
For
what,
sure.
I'll lose fingers. I'll lose everything before I let you like do what you said you're gonna
Mhm.
do. You know?
Not totally agreed.
That scene was just, I don't know, it was cool. And then even
Once again,
Osborn,
Just before you
Oh,
say
no, go ahead.
anything,
Uh-huh.
Peter's determination, like before anything. You know. Like I
Yeah.
said earlier about his like determination for like his his fucking uncle's killer. Like
yeah,
it's the same determination, you know, like, oh fuck
Yeah.
no, like that's not happening.
that-
I think
yeah.
it also kind of like, it's also like how like he could have stopped the thief, you know what I mean? He could have stopped
Yeah.
him from going, and this is like his moment to redeem himself, right? Like to
Yeah,
finally pull it all together. It's like, no, you're not going to touch Aunt May, you're not going to touch MJ, you're not going to even touch Harry, you know? Like no
Yeah.
one, you're not getting to anyone after this.
yeah, it was, no, for sure. So yeah, and then I don't know, just seeing that it was like Norman, and Norman trying to kind of persuade him that like it's not him, it's the, you know, it's the goblin, he's controlling him, and you know, you get this whole little insanity scene, and then
Oh,
tricking him. Oh wait, go ahead.
I was say it reminds me of this meme where it was like when you and your homie having a 3-way with this girl, and he tries to put it in your ass.
Yeah,
and he's like, Peter,
yeah.
no, it's me.
Peter, no, it's
Jesus
me. Yeah,
Christ.
yeah.
Peter, no, it's me.
I saw that meme today, bro. I was laughing,
Dude, that
dude.
shit's so stupid.
Dude, the government's watching us. They know we were gonna do this podcast.
For real.
Oh no, they know.
They were like, hey, look at this,
Right.
look at this funny ass meme. Talk about this shit.
Yeah, talk about this. Yeah.
Uh,
Our,
know.
our Area 51 guards are fucking sending us their shit right now.
yeah, going back to that scene where he takes the mask off though. That
Yeah.
kind of like, to me, I didn't really understand at first, because you know how I was talking about how it like takes over and it's like a separate kind of personality.
Yeah.
So how did he just like switched out of that because he was getting his ass beat, and then he like
See,
that
I
was like
think
his
at
last
that point-
defense.
I think at that point, the goblin had like fully taken over. I think at
Yeah.
It
that
was
point,
like he was
then he-
trying to persuade.
he was purposely
like
just
his
trying
last
to
defense.
manipulate. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, like if I can't take you down myself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like then I'll
Yeah.
make sure to take both of us down, you know? And that was the whole
Yeah.
point with the glider just trying to fucking stab him in the back.
Yeah.
But I do like that whole speech he tells him where he's kind of just like, no, you're not my dad. Like the only
Yeah.
father I've ever had is Uncle Ben, you know? Like
Yeah.
that was a real shit right there.
Yeah, that was. And he
for
was like,
sure, dude.
Godspeed, Spider-Man. Boom. You know, press the button. And then,
Yeah, I like
and then
that
he
dude's
flips
voice.
off. He's like, oh. And then it's that. I won't lie. The O part gets me every time.
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's the only scene we really get to see like Sam Raimi's like dark humor throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is like
Yeah.
he
Dude,
goes,
it went
oh.
like into his dick almost. Like it was
Yeah.
like
It's an,
above,
I've always
it was,
thought,
like,
I
at
always
his
saw it
waist.
like it was like at his waist. Yeah. So like,
yeah.
Well, that's all. It's like that's where your small intestine is. That dude, like you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
If your small
You're
intestines
dead.
get ripped up, yeah, there's no putting those back together. You're dead.
Yeah.
Like if it was just small like incisions, but those were like blades, bro. Like
Dude,
those,
huge.
those shit, you're dead.
Yeah. Fucking crazy, man. I don't know. Pretty good. And I think at like the last bit when he's about to die, that's when you finally see Osborn, which is like, you know, when he tells him, "Don't tell Harry."
Yeah, when it comes back to reality in his final moments.
Yeah.
Depressing as hell.
Depressing, very depressing. And then at the end, you know, what's even more depressing is for MJ because she got friend zoned, hat, you know. For
Yeah,
the sake
Peter was
of
like, "Sorry, bitch, you got OnlyFans? Not today."
You go.
Dude, he curved her ass though. Like she was
Yeah,
like, "I
he
love you,
curved
Peter,"
her.
and he just was like, "Yeah, I can't."
He gave, like I said, bro, he gave her that Han Solo. He was like,
I don't know
"Yeah,
what to tell
I
you."
know."
Yeah, I know.
But
He
I
gave her
think
that Han
she
Solo.
realized that he was Spider-Man at that
Oh,
moment
yeah.
because of
Oh,
that
yeah.
kiss and stuff. She was like, yeah, like it all kind of hit her at the same time.
Yeah.
She was like, "Wait
Because
a
remember
minute."
when sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but when he came swinging in when she was getting attacked by those guys,
Yeah.
and then he said, "Oh, I was just in the neighborhood." Like he literally just said that to her like 10 minutes before.
Were we
as
talking about
Peter.
the part where it's raining?
Yeah.
When he's upside down and kisses her and stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like
illegal.
that kind of like at the end when he was like, "Oh, I can't love you like that" or something, like she kind of realized like everything hit her at once. She was like, "Oh shit!" Like
Yeah.
Peter is Spider-Man, dude. That's
She
crazy.
was like, "That's my man. That's my man."
For real.
And he was just like, you guys seen that meme where it's like the hot girl goes for the jock guy, and then at the end, like the nerd guy's like, "I'm gonna show them," and then like he
Yeah.
gets like money, and he's like, "Beat it, chick," and she's like, "Come on,
Yeah.
daddy," or some shit.
Yeah.
That's what fucking Peter was picturing in his fucking head. He's like, "Beat
Yeah.
it, chick."
I'm still waiting to get rich.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the rich part.
I should have played baseball in high school.
I will say I do. You know what part I like a lot, which was like though Peter like is really good at science and actually really intelligent, he loves photography.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. He didn't like he could have delved into science and he would have easily gotten the job with doing that. But it was like no, I like photography. You know, I like it. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think it just shows that, like, while Peter's really scientific, and I think this is, like, what Raimi was trying to show everybody, like, he also cares about things as well, you know what I mean? Like, because when you think of, like, sciencey nerd, you think of someone that's, like, cut off from the world who don't, like, really understand art, you know what I mean? Like, they're just very logical and very critical, you know? It's like, like, if you tell them, like, I mean, shit in shows, if you, like, you tell a nerd a joke, they're like, huh? What? I don't get that. What is this metaphor? You know what I mean? Like the biggest example of that is The Big Bang Theory. Yeah, I hate to use that as an example, but it's like those are the type of jokes people like. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and that's the thing. That's how they see nerds. So I feel like Raimi was trying to show like, no, Peter can be more than that. I know he does it in the comics as well. Like he sells photos of Spider-Man and he does all this stuff. But I think it's just also meant to represent like, oh yeah, like this Peter Parker is more emotional. This is like an emotional based like human being. You know? Yeah. It's not like what he should do or what the smart thing is to do. I think it's also about like just he is also still human, you know? Yeah.
He's trying to capture memories.
Exactly. I was also going to say I really like that part where Norman tries to offer Peter a job as well, and he just goes like, "Oh no, it's okay," you know? Like, "Oh, I'll live on my own. It's fine." Yeah. Because I think even that, once again, showing that like Norman cares more for Peter because not only does Norman doesn't feel disrespected by Peter saying no to his job. You know what I mean? He doesn't feel disrespected or upset by it. He actually just goes, "Oh, I respect that you want to like do your own thing."
Yeah, and pave your own way.
Yeah, exactly. I think he even like says like, "Oh, instead of riding coattails or some shit like that," or he says something like to refer back to Harry because Harry pretty much is like doing what his father is doing because of the fact that his father is his father. You know? Yeah. Like, oh, like I make money, but now you're using my money to make your own money, which is kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's basically how Norman saw it. Yeah. And it also like makes me really sad whenever I think about like just how Norman pretty much promises Harry before he fights Spider-Man. He promises him like once this is all over, pretty much like I'll be a father to you. You know, like I'll take you out. Like I'll be a dad finally. Yeah. And just knowing that like that's one of the biggest reasons why Harry hates Spider-Man so much is like, of course, seeing that he killed his dad and everything like that, but it's also just the idea that if you didn't kill him, then I would have an actual father. Yeah. I kind of forgot about that scene. He walks in and all that screaming's going on, right? Yeah. The goblin and stuff with his. And he's like, "Dad, hello." Yeah, dude, that was weird. He's like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Wow!" Like, what?
Yeah. And it's like, "Harry, what?" Like, I just got got cooked by Peter. You know?
Your best friend Peter's fucking MJ.
Yeah, and he's like,
No,
oh,
that totally makes sense. though. I didn't really think about that. He that's another reason why he really hates Spider-Man at that point.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, a kid that got resented by his father his whole life, you would think he would kind of feel relieved over the fact that his dad no longer can control his money or no longer can tell him what to do, you know? But no, it's the fact that, yes, he was promising to finally be there for him, that he now feels like that was taken away from him. And I feel like a lot of people forget about that.
Yeah.
They kind of like, oh, well, Harry's still a bad guy because of the way he hates Spider-Man. He's a bad guy. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, it's like, why does he hate Spider-Man, though? Like, we know why J. Jonah Jameson hates Spider-Man. It sells shit. He can sell him as a thief. He can sell him as a burglar, an assaultist. You know what I mean? Like, he can make him sound like a bad person, which will get views and clicks and buys and shit, you know?
Yeah.
But the reason Harry hates Spider-Man is not because of money. He hates him because he took away the only thing that he ever wanted.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know. Overall, like, the whole film, to me, man, that is a close, like, I don't know what you guys rate it as, but personally for me, definitely like a very close 9 point, between the 9.5 and like 9.10, or in the 10, like in between that area. I don't know. It's within
like
that gray
9.75.
Yeah, because it's that. I mean, that's how much. I mean, personally, and it's because I'm biased. Definitely, I'm biased.
I'm definitely surprised by that. I was gonna say, because I think fucking The Dark Knight would have like a place up there like that.
Dark Knight. Oh no, The Dark Knight is there. I think is there. Would be there definitely.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. I'm just making sure
about it. They're both.
Your ass watches it like once a year.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I know. Oh yeah. Like that film. Oh my god.
That's
man.
me with fucking Donnie Darko.
So good.
I gotta say, I enjoyed it more when I actually finished it fully.
I was telling you, Matt, you were talking all this shit at me. You were talking all this smack.
I didn't like the first hour for some reason, dude. Like, it's not that I didn't like it. It was all right or whatever, but it just kind of, like I said, it was kind of bland to me. Like, it didn't have too much dialogue that I kind of was hoping for.
Yeah.
Which, with him acting maybe a little bit more nerdy and stuff, where he wasn't really that nerdy. He just was really, really shy and couldn't even express himself because of how he was feeling, like, because he was just talking to MJ, or, you know, I kind of wish we got more scenes between him and Harry just alone, just so you could kind of have more of that, like, character development.
More of the friendship.
Yeah, see that friendship more and stuff like that. So that first part was definitely kind of boring to me. That's why, like, watching the ending, I was kind of like, here we go again. But no, it wasn't bad. Like, the last 45 minutes when I watched it, I was like, yeah, this actually, it sums it up really well, and it does a really good job at closing everything that they open. But yeah, I would say probably for sure like an 8.5 after watching the whole thing. I did enjoy it. It just, like, I don't really do superhero movies this much. I don't know.
No, I get you, man.
That's fair.
I think also, personally for me, while the story, characters, and shit is really good, you know what I mean? I still have to take away points for, like, CGI. It does look bad. I'm sorry. The CGI in this film does look bad. It looks fucking dated as hell.
Yeah.
It does not look like some, like, glory fantastic, wow, this is like a sign of the times, like, oh my god, like, this shows that they were, like, really stepping up their game. Like, no, it's not. It's actually pretty dated. Like, dated as
yeah, it looks like a 90s movie, but
it really does
too.
It looks like
early 90s.
It looks like fucking halfway through the movie they had to use, like, stop motion or some shit, like, whenever during those scenes. But I will say, like, the fight scene, they whipped out everything for that fucking fight scene. They whipped out the budget. Like, they were like, no, we need to not hold anything back for this one scene, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's why everything looks so dated, is because they were scared of giving Raimi money in order to, like, actually put in, like, a good film, you know? Yeah. I think Bruce Campbell said it best. I forgot what interview this was from, but he does say at one point that pretty much Sam Raimi proved with Evil Dead and series and everything, Army of Darkness and everything, that he can go far with just a little. So I feel like that's why they probably give him a low budget, most likely, you know? Probably give him a low budget, so that's probably why the CGI does look dated and stuff like that. Because, Man, when he's first swinging, man, that shit looks like ass.
Oh, yeah. How would you feel if they remastered it?
If they remastered it, bro, I think I would honestly bust a fat ass nut.
Yeah,
Like,
I was thinking about that.
I was thinking like that. Like, I love this movie a lot. Like, I would give it probably like an 8.5. But if they remastered it, bro, probably a 9.5 because the characters, the story, everything just lines up so well for me. I don't know. I like the cheesiness. I like campy. I like stuff like that. It's not like like Matt earlier you pointed out like, oh, you feel like it's predictable, but I'm okay with predictable as long as predictable is done right, as long as it feels natural, it flows well, you know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with the edgy ass teenager in the ninja village having his family get slaughtered as long as it's written well. You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a fuck. Just write it well, make the characters make sense, make sure that you align everything correctly. You know, that's what this film does. It makes like the characters make sense. They put in time, they put in effort to make you understand them. You know, and I think by the end of the film, you kind of want to be a little Spider-Man yourself. You know, So that's all I'm saying. But if they remaster this shit, Spider, you know? I'd take I'll fucking jerk off to that.
Remastered
shit.
As in the same people too, though, because I mean, let's go to the age of these people.
They're a little old. That don't matter to me.
They were a little old back then in 2002.
By remastered, I'm just hoping that like
CGI,
not even the same actor, just CGI. Like most of the CGI, because I think like the actors and the way it, like stuff looks in the background they could fix, whatever. Characters is fine. It's just like editing. Every CGI moment and just making it like as good as it is like today.
Okay, so literally taking this movie and just like changing some of the visuals and stuff like that.
The visuals, and just visually like making it better.
It's just like I said, the CGI is way too dated. Like, it looks bad. It looks really bad.
Yeah.
But other than that, though, like, I think, like I said, the last fight is really well executed and looks really nice. All the close-ups are clearly done because of the fact that they have a low budget. You know what I mean? Like, you can. That's the only reason why you do close-ups. If you do close-ups for any other reason, it has to be for character or something. Like, I think one of the coolest scenes I like a lot is like when him and MJ are talking in the backyard and you can see them as they're slowly kind of like getting closer to knowing like each other and stuff like that. The camera starts like slowly zooming in as well, which is something so small, but once you like figure it out, you're like, oh shit. Like, it's just showing character, it's just showing how like these characters are coming together, getting closer, And I think that's something that a lot of directors need to start doing nowadays. It's literally the basics of movie making. But the fact that I had to point that out, and a lot of people are probably like, "Oh, what the fuck? I didn't even realize that." You know what I mean? But the fact that I pointed that out, it's like it sucks that a lot of movies nowadays they don't do that.
Yeah.
Back to the predictability thing. Even the Green Goblin agrees with me. Okay, because when he swings into that building and he like, remember he goes to save the lady and then it ends up being the Green Goblin. He's like, "You're so predictable." Like kicks his ass across the room. That was one of my favorite scenes. I was like, one of my
favorite scenes before that where he's like talking to the cop and the cop's like, "I'll be here when you come back," and he's like, "I'm not coming back, Chief."
I'm not coming back.
He said, "I'm not coming back, Chief."
I don't know about that.
He was like, I'm just gonna drop her ass off. All right, I'll catch you later. I just think about it like in like today's like slang, because like you know how he just says it like so bluntly. He's like, "I'm not coming back, Chief."
I'm not coming back.
I just think about like it's just how we talk today and shit. It still fits so well and it's funny as fuck. But I think. Like I said, I would give it like a hard 8.5. And if they updated all the CGI and all the visuals, bro, that's a 9.5 for me. Only because it's just like, it's so well done. It's well done storytelling, I can't say I can watch this movie every day or every week so-and-so, you know what I mean? It doesn't get me that inspired. But fucking hell, if I would be lying if I said this movie to this day doesn't impact me every time I watch it.
I mean, it's definitely like a classic superhero movie that there weren't like any superhero movies that were as well put together as this one, like you were saying before. Like this one was put together. So, I mean, when did Hulk come out? Did it come out before this?
Like 2004.
After this, right?
The Incredible Hulk, 2004.
Yeah, so it definitely was the first, real live action good superhero movie. So
I mean,
definitely a classic.
If you really want to look at fucking Marvel's old shit, it was like Blade, Punisher,
but I mean,
Warzone.
No one really.
Howard the Duck.
I mean, people watch those and stuff, but I feel like this was definitely the one that changed everyone's opinions about superhero movies. They watched it and they're like, okay, like I actually enjoyed that, you know, like maybe the rest of the superhero movies won't be complete garbage. So
Yeah.
And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to review the next 2 movies. Woo! Everybody put their hands together and clap it up.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay,
We're going to review the next 2 movies.
So I don't mind Spider-Man 2. Definitely Spider-Man 3 is going to be a funny one to watch.
What are you talking about, man?
Be-
Spider-Man 3 is hard.
Okay.
What?
Like,
I
Spider-Man 3
like
goes
Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, I like Spider-Man 3.
Like Chris
Go
said,
fuck
just
yourself,
because
Angel,
of
piece of
Venom.
shit.
yeah. I mean,
I like
could,
his
I like
internal-
No, bro, it's all because of Sandman, bro.
Oh, that's
I don't
really
care.
Sandman
I
was
don't
pretty
care.
good.
Sandman
Sandman was
is the
pretty
best
good.
character in Spider-Man 3.
He is pretty cool.
Just remove Venom out of there, bro. All
Bro,
they need to
no,
do-
that's his
Ooh.
internal like conflict in between. Nah.
Oh,
I don't like Venom. Like, they should just be a separate movie. That's what it should have been. It should,
they
Could've been a separate-
could have led up to Venom for Spider-Man 4 or some
Yeah.
shit.
Well, so you mean like the movie that came out, like Venom, the movie?
No, but like for Spider-Man,
No.
like because originally, I don't know if you knew this, Matt, but originally, like Raimi actually signed up for 3 more movies after Spider-Man 3.
Really?
He was signed to like they were basically
crazy.
saying, "Oh, you're gonna get 3 more movies, pretty much." So he was like setting up Spider-Man 4, and that's pretty much when they told him, "Hey, actually, we're just gonna reboot the series, so like don't trip
Mhm.
about it." Essentially,
Yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed Venom in that just because, like I said, his like internal conflicts and stuff between
Mhm.
him becoming more powerful and using that to, you know, think that, oh, I can destroy Sandman with this and I can be as powerful as I need to be. And then he realized that he was becoming evil and stuff like that. So I don't know. That's why I kind of enjoyed.
oh, like that.
Okay, we're
like
gonna
that
talk more
part,
about
no.
this in Spider-Man 3, the
Okay.
movie review.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
blah.
damn it. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Anyways, I was gonna
Just
say,
pretend like that's not there.
yeah, ignore that completely.
Ignore that didn't happen, bro. That didn't happen.
Well, I was gonna say, but yeah, Spider-Man 1, one of the best Spider-Man movies. I'm sorry, Tom Holland, you just don't live up to the hype that you were given from Civil War.
I need to watch Homecoming now.
I honestly wish that you did, because seeing you in Civil War, I was so excited, and I couldn't help but be disappointed watching Homecoming. I remember the first time I watched it, I believe Angel and a couple of our friends were there. But I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, wow, okay, that was a pretty good film. Like, I'm pretty happy about the new Spider-Man. And then I bought it, and I rewatched it, like, 4 times in, like, 2 months. And I was like, I don't like this film as much as I thought I did. And it's not because of Tom Holland's fault. It's not because of the directors, John Watts. It's because of the fact that Disney is now a shill of a corporation that pumps out whatever looks good to them, even though in reality it has no style, it has no flavor. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll eat this piece of meat, but why the fuck can I have salt and pepper with it too, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I do want to live, but do I have to just keep eating this fucking piece of meat that's only going to fulfill my needs for living, not even for, like, enjoying,
Yeah.
you know?
Jesus.
So that's, I don't know, that's just how I feel about the MCU.
I feel like
right
they're
now.
also still trying to monopolize off of the Iron Man success, which is kind of ridiculous at this point.
Which is why that's his only fucking...
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna get into that because I just get depressed every time I talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly just want to hang myself. I just want to burn my Homecoming CD every time I talk about this shit. I haven't watched Homecoming in like 2 years because of this shit, and I'm gonna have to rewatch it because of the fact that I'm rewatching the MCU. So fucking hell. Anyways, people, buy your movies on Blu-ray. That shit looks 10 times better. Streaming services are fucking you over. Like, you're not gonna get the same quality as you are with a Blu-ray, so buy Blu-rays. Just saying. Anybody want to sign off?
Yeah. I think everything was right. Said what was said, and I don't know.
This is the Movie Trash Talk podcast.
Yeah.
Signing off.
If you don't like Spider-Man 1, you're fucking lame.
Yeah. You're
And you know who you are.
Hey,
no.
hey, I was one of those people until I watched the
Yeah,
end, okay?
well, yeah,
It's
well.
for those who watched it and still like dislike it, like, you know.
Yeah, give it a second try. Maybe rewatch it. Maybe see it from more a moviegoer's, like, or a movie reviewer's perspective, because the movie really isn't that bad. You can hate on it if you don't like it because it's not comic accurate. If you don't like this or that, okay, fine, I understand. You don't have to like it because it's comic accurate, but go to a movie perspective. Talk about why it's actually good. Like, what did it do for the industry as a whole? Think about what it did just all together. All right? Just remember that Spider-Man 2 actually still exists, and it's known as one of the best superhero movies of all time. We're going to be reviewing that next week, motherfuckers. Next week.
All right.
Sick.
All right,
Coolio.
Sam
Catch you
Raimi,
guys on the
kiss
flip
me on the
side.
lips. Bye.
That too.
All right. See you.